So, in this video, I'm going to tell you how to diagnose why you don't like your job. I will also tell you why it's so important for you to know this, to know your why, and how it sets you up so that you can solve it properly. Seriously? I left my glasses at home. I don't think they're here. Can I do the video without glasses? I think I can. Well, I'm gonna have to. According to statistics, between 65 to 85% of people who work in corporate are unhappy in their job. So there seems to be this understanding that if you work in a corporate job, then you're not going to love your job, you're not going to feel fulfilled. So something happened in the world because it has almost become normal to not love the work that you do. And we respond to it in one of two ways. Number one is we try and accept it. So we talk to other people, they're telling us the same thing. That's what I did when I was still in corporate and I was thinking about taking some sort of an action. I kept thinking, but he told me he feels the same way and she feels the same way and everyone feels the same way. So I probably just need to accept it. This is probably just how it is in life. It's a normal thing that every responsible adult is going through. That work is just work. We just do it for the money. We do it because it's the right thing to do, but we don't necessarily enjoy it. The other strategy we try is that we try and fix the problem, right? If we can't accept the problem, we're only left with one other choice, which is to try and somehow resolve it. This is exactly the reason why I wanted to make this video, and I don't know if anyone will be watching it, but if you are watching it and if it's helpful to you, then it's amazing. I'm so happy. And when you're in the space, when you're trying to fix it, you can very easily try and fix the wrong problem. What does this mean? I remember looking back that when I shared with someone how I felt at work and how I wanted to get out, many times they said to me, oh, okay, well, you can always get another job, right? Or maybe it's time to move on, or maybe you just need change, right? So we throw around these almost like generic cliche type of statements, but I kept thinking, but if you think I can take another job in another company and this will solve my problem, then you're not understanding my problem. You have probably heard the quote, a problem well defined or well stated is a problem half solved. It comes from, I just checked, Charles Kettering, head of research at General Motors between 1920 and 1947. So what we're going to do with this video, we are going to solve your why. We're going to shine the light onto the very core of where that discontentment is coming from. It was super helpful to me. If it's not helpful to you, just ignore the video and move on to watch something else. But I remember how helpful it was for me to actually take all that jumbled up thing in my mind and be able to clarify what my problem actually was. Because I could see that some of the solutions, how those would never actually get me to the outcome that I was looking for. For this, I'll be using a video that I recorded a while back, and I hope you're going to find it helpful. The reason it's very difficult to solve, I don't like my job, or I hate my job, or I'm stuck in my job type of scenario, is because unhappy and stuck is something that's extremely vague and elusive and not very specific and concrete. So one of the first things you need to do is you need to diagnose what your problem actually is. There's so much more underneath the surface. So the very first thing that I would encourage you to do, this is what I did, was to get deeper into those layers and identify exactly what's not working for you. The reason that's so important is because depending on why you're unhappy or what that unhappiness means to you, the solution to that problem can be very different. So someone who has a problem with not making enough money versus someone who feels like their soul is dying in a job because it's so unfulfilling and it so lacks purpose, those two people will need to address the problem in very different ways. So one of the things we don't usually talk about, and that is why I wanted to create this video, is that the feeling that you're not in the right place or you don't like going into work, that sort of a space is a cover for a lot of stuff underneath. I didn't really find resources that would explain it to me in the way I'm about to explain it to you. So hopefully it's going to be helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll answer them in the next video. The model that I'm using to explain it to you is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When Maslow came up with it, it had nothing to do with how to get out of a corporate job, but I ended up using that a lot the last couple of years, and I find that it helps you really understand the different layers of unhappiness. He did not call it that, that's how I call it. He called it hierarchy of needs. The very basis of his work is that he identified that inherent in us, all of us, there are certain needs that we are looking to fulfill, that we are looking to satisfy. Not only that, there's a hierarchy to those needs, which means that they're not linear, they're not just sitting next to one another, but we need to satisfy certain needs first in order to become aware of another need. And then once we satisfy those needs, then we become aware of another need. And identifying where you are in terms of human needs when it comes to your job, it's going to give you so much clarity, and it's going to take something that is so vague and so elusive and so intangible at the moment, and it's going to turn it into an actually well-defined, solvable problem. At the very bottom of the pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is physiological needs. So that's the need for food and drinks and shelter and clothes, something very basic, right? Now, when it comes to a corporate job, if you are working for a large international organization, it's very unlikely you are not going to have those very basic physiological needs met. Then the second is what Maslow called safety. So this is about safety and security. When it comes to a job, it's about job security, whether your job is still going to be there, or you're working in an industry that is kind of dying or is currently going through a large transformation. If you are stuck in a corporate job that you don't like and you don't enjoy, again, your problem is very unlikely to be at this level. Now, the next level is what he called love and connection. That's where it starts to get interesting, because this may be the level where your problem actually lies. Love and connection is not a word that we use a lot when it comes to corporate setting, love even less. We sometimes say relationships, that's more okay to say, but there is an element of working where we are interacting with other people. And if you like the people that you're working with, you're gonna enjoy your work so much better. If an environment is really far away from your value system, you're going to find it really difficult to work in that environment. I had a lot of clients who worked in investment banking and had this type of an experience. It's like, I know the stuff, I am qualified, I really enjoyed the banking side of it, but I'm not enjoying the cultural aspect. Let's go to the next level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the next level in the pyramid is what he called esteem. So this where it gets really, really interesting. The majority of the people that I meet who do not like their job, or who would even come out and outright say, I hate my job, I can't stand it, that's where the majority of people who don't like their jobs are. Why? Because this is where the question of respectful relationships, recognition, appreciation comes in. If you are not getting enough respect and recognition from your work colleagues or from your manager, then there are a lot of different things you can do. Now, this video would be too long if I went into the nitty-gritty of how that's done. If you are interested, let me know in the comments. I can make another video about this. But there is a way for you to generate recognition and still stay within the same company, still stay within the same industry, still stay within the same role even. You do not have to leave. That is a very drastic course of action that is only appropriate for a particular type of person, which we'll come to just now. So the very top of it, the top of the pyramid, is self-expression. Quick pause. Maslow actually called it self-actualization. I call it self-expression because I have found that outside scientific circles, more everyday life, I heard people use the word self-expression a lot more than self-actualization. But just know that for the purposes of this video, we are going to be using the two interchangeably, and we kind of mean the same thing. Now, it is my belief, and because it has been my experience, that really changing careers is going to bring with itself a lot of problems. You need to figure out what you're going to do. You need to retrain potentially. You need to find a way to make a living out of it. If you are a freelancer or an entrepreneur, you're going to have to find your own clients or your own customers. You are going to be responsible for everything because practically you are running a small business. So I think this is only worth it if you're at the top of the triangle. You know you're at the top of the triangle and your difficulty is with self-expression when you say things like, I just want to make a difference. I want to help people. I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like I haven't even started scratching the surface of my potential. I feel like I'm not being myself. I want to do work that's more meaningful. I want to feel satisfied at the end of the day. I want to feel like I have contributed beyond myself when I go home every night. So when you are using these type of words, it really points to self-expression. That means you have a problem with the entire system. Anything below self-expression, you have a specific problem about a specific aspect of the system. It's a little bit like a certain part in a car is broken. You can take that part out, fix that part, or replace that part, put it back, and the system is going to run. It's not gonna generate any problems. The top one is a little bit like, I have a problem having a car. That's what I have a problem with, right? It's not that the car itself is not running. I don't want to drive a car. I don't want to have a car. Then no amount of fixing the car is going to fix that larger problem. So being at the top of that triangle is the most challenging where you can possibly be, but also that is where you're going to have the most motivation to actually generate opportunities for yourself and figure out a way to do more meaningful work. So the piece that we need to talk about is that when you're at this place, when you are having problem with meeting your self-expressional needs, it's the hardest piece, it's the hardest place to be on the pyramid. The reason it's the hardest place because you're going to feel very alone there. As you are talking about how you're experiencing life, how you're experiencing work, and what you are wanting, there's going to be a lot less people who can resonate with you, a lot less people who will be able to relate to what you're saying. So if you're saying, I love my job, but my boss is an asshole, then a lot of people are like, yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah, that's what's happening with me too. Or if you say, I really like this job, I am pretty excited about the entire thing, but I'm not making a lot of money. I know I should be making more. I know I deserve more. A lot of people will resonate with that. Like, yeah, me too. But if you say, I invested 20 years of my life learning, studying, working in corporate, and now I'm thinking I'm making a lot of money. I am having a really nice job in a really nice office somewhere in central London. And then you're saying, oh, I'm thinking about walking away from it. You are not going to get a lot of empathy from people. That is not something a lot of people will be able to relate to. And therefore, you're going to feel, in the beginning at least, you're going to feel very alone. Another piece is that whenever it comes to resources, the majority of the resources are directed below that level. So when it comes to self-expression, finding meaningful work, contributing beyond yourself, these are topics that we don't quite know how to solve in society. These are not topics we talk about a lot, precisely because the majority of people are not there yet. What happens and what comes out of Maslow's work as well is, and I think that's a very important piece to understand, is that the only reason you have problem with self-expression is because you do not have needs underneath it that are unmet. So if you are hungry, you're not going to think about self-expression, and that's normal, that's natural. Then you're going to think about food. If you feel unloved and you feel like you don't belong somewhere, then you're going to be thinking about that. You're not going to think about self-expression. You're going to think, why do I not have friends? In order for you to have a problem with self-expression, you need to be quite high up on the pyramid. So, why did I want you to know all this? If you're at the top of the pyramid And your real problem, the core of your problem, if self-expression or self-actualization, there is nothing you can do underneath that will solve that. Remember in the beginning when I said that sometimes we try and solve the wrong problems and we misunderstand our problems and we think it's a problem that we're not actually having, or we imagine we have a different kind of a problem. So all of that confusion can take years of your life, if not decades. I wanted you to see, because that was a huge learning from my journey, and I want to spread the word and help as many people as I possibly can. A big learning from my journey was that understanding that I have a problem with self-expression, I have a problem with meaning and purpose, and therefore no amount of changing and shifting and moving to another country and changing a job and start working for a smaller company or a bigger company or all of that was just never going to solve it, was extremely liberating for me. Because once I understood that, I could focus all of my thinking and all of the ruminating and all my energy and all my effort and really channel it into finding a purposeful, meaningful path for myself. If you're at the top of the pyramid, if your difficulty, if your problem, if your obstacle is around purpose and meaning and self-expression and self-actualization, then it's very unlikely that you can create these tiny little incremental changes and you're going to get what you want. On my journey, what I have found is that I needed to go on this inner and outer journey of trying to understand myself, trying to figure out what was driving me in life, and just start a completely new chapter. I realized that a job that was going to be truly meaningful and purposeful to me was not something I could find in a job description somewhere, but it was probably something I needed to create for myself. If you have a problem with fulfillment, purpose, meaning, self-expression, that it's very likely your happiest life is waiting for you outside corporate. Many of the other problems around esteem, respect, many of those problems can be fixed if you stay within corporate. Some are harder to fix, some are very easy to fix actually. We work on that a lot in coaching. But where I think it's really interesting and where there's a lot less resources than anywhere else is when you're at the top. Because when you talk to people about looking for a purpose, looking for meaning, looking for a job where you can be authentic, you can be yourself, get paid for who you are, when you go into that space, there isn't a lot that people can tell you. You will find, if you're not finding it already, that this is where there's very little help and support and guidance available. That is why I'm creating these videos, because that time trying to figure it out all by myself was really difficult. It was very isolating. I didn't know for years where to go. Many times I started to question my own sanity. And so I'm hoping with these videos that they will give you hope that it's possible. They will give you specific things to work on and specific steps to take. And if you feel a little bit overwhelmed, just know it's absolutely normal. But I recorded a video that might help you with that. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about how I found coaching, how I found purposeful work, and what that journey actually looked like step by step. If you're interested in knowing more about that, then I will see you there.